Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
How is one California county using cannabis and grainy satellite images to extort millions from homeowners? This is Doug and Corrine Thomas. They run an autism nonprofit, but are mostly retired. In 2021, they moved to Humboldt County after their home burned down in the LA County wildfires. And 6 days later, their dream property turned into a nightmare. The county sent a letter saying this barn was built without a permit and prior owners did use it for growing weed. So they had 10 days to demo the barn or face fines of $12,000 per day. And ignoring the letter would result in a $900,000 lien placed on their property, which could then be sold at a tax sale. But the Thomases were confused. Their home had a clean title. How is this possible? Well, Humboldt County is part of the Emerald Triangle. For decades, it's been a hotspot for OG growers. And after California went legal, the county wanted its cut. So they created an environmental response team to supposedly protect a sensitive ecosystem. In reality, it was used to weed out black market growers and incentivize them into the legal industry. They'd use old grainy satellite images to look for unpermitted development, like barns and greenhouses, grading, and even the removal of too many trees, because those things must mean you're growing weed. However, in Humboldt, people have developed property and lived off the land without permits for generations. But the county didn't care. They had a quota to meet, 50 permit violations a week. And because those were connected to cannabis, they became a Category 4 offense, which was actually 3 separate violations, meaning more money for the state. But new homeowners like the Thomases had no idea about any of this. Even though the county was required to report title violations, they hadn't for years. If people did challenge the penalties, the county took literally 4.5 years to even schedule a hearing. Now, most people would assume you could just get a permit and solve the problem. But the county said, nope. They want property owners to return the land to its original condition. For the Thomases, this meant $200,000 to remove the barn, which might not even be possible because it's surrounded by protected old growth forest. The only way out of this ordeal? To settle. The county wanted the Thomases to falsely admit growing weed, waive any right to trial, allow the government access to their land forever, demo the barn, and pay $1 million in fines. The county did offer to waive the fines under one condition: you apply for a commercial grow license. To date, Humboldt County has charged over 1,200 property owners using this racket and dished out hundreds of millions in fines. And I'm not saying it's a land grab, but the county has used this scheme to seize dozens of properties. It's why the Institute for Justice is suing. They argue any fines must be comparable to the offense and that state and local governments must provide a jury trial before imposing life-altering penalties. So how are Humboldt County's actions any different than mob rule?
Today, we're going to talk with somebody in Pennsylvania, and I want to, the more and more I get into these things that we deal with every day, the more that I look at what's happened to Tina Peters inside the judiciary, or we start looking at what's happened to Phil Latham in Pennsylvania, which I'm trying right now to get the DOJ to, and I think that's how we got Michael, who will be with us here in a second. But we talk about what's happening in California, and these government agencies have treated the people like slaves. And I don't take those words lightly, because isn't that what we're dealing with? I mean, you have an entire county that is going there and saying, okay, they've lived off the grid and for generations, let's say, and you build buildings and do certain things, and somebody comes in and buys a property, and then as soon as you buy the property, they try to do something to be able to take the property from you, or to make it so difficult on you that you can't live. And this isn't the only time it's happened. This isn't the only time that a judiciary and a government has done this. It's just the first time in the history of the United States that it's become so pervasive that the average everyday person feels like they are helpless. It costs too much money to actually fight it in court. You'd spend $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $500,000. You can't represent yourself. And every time we turn around, we look at a more deeply captured environment. in the United States. I mean, you're just not free. You have cameras on every corner. You have stolen elections that, frankly, are obvious. It's all you can talk about on X or everyone else, but you also have a DOJ that's so inept and so absolutely fundamentally broken that Pam Bondi can't get out of her own way because she's too busy getting facelifts and boob jobs. And I look at what President Trump is doing, and he put Mark Zuckerberg in this office that runs AI, so you're putting the people that have literally oppressed the American people, you're putting that guy that silenced and still continues to silence people on Facebook, you put him in charge with 2 other billionaires. And we're supposed to look at this and think that somewhere along the line we're getting a better 4 years than we got with Biden. We feel lost. We feel lost because the judiciary is so fundamentally broken that the only thing left is death. And so people are getting to that place where they're ready to fight for everything. And I'm sitting here saying that I'm running for governor, I'm doing these things, and then I look over my shoulder and I go, well, what difference does it make? I don't want to blackpill you. I just want to put you in a place where you understand that you have influencers that run out there that say you have to support Israel, other influencers that are out there that says Israel. We're bombing Iran, and we're going into Lebanon, taking property from them, and Gaza, man, we just stopped talking about them altogether. And while all of this stuff is happening, we totally forgot about the Lahaina fires in Hawaii and the fact that they've confiscated now almost 98% of that land. Remember, that's what it wasn't about. And then you're talking about what's happened in California, and it just, the states are fundamentally broken. And the federal government is fundamentally broken. And we keep feeding it with more and more taxes, and our gas prices go up, and food is at an all-time high. We are in the precipice of collapse. And we pray that it doesn't happen, but what happens when it does happen? The government gets to come in and take even more meat off the bone. So the big billionaires end up on one side, and the government ends up the other, and everyone ends up working for the ant farm. And now you get it. That was always supposed to be the outcome. And as they steal our Second Amendment rights and steal our First Amendment, I mean, the Second Amendment's probably the most obvious. And they let foreigners come into our country, and they use dog whistles it's always a dog whistle. Ilhan Omar, I mean, you J.D. Vance, Ilhan Omar she committed fraud against our immigration policy. Well, no shit. You know what else is fraudulent? We didn't elect foreigners to represent us inside of Congress. We didn't do it. We didn't do it. We want representation inside of our communities. We're not these crazy wackos that sit out there and want to legalize abortion up until the point that the baby is born. We're not wackos that want to, have the state be the head for prostitution, or register with the state so you can have them be your pimp. We wouldn't let pedophiles run roughshod. We would have prosecuted Epstein and all of his people, regardless of where it led us. Normal people in society, Democrat or Republican, would have walked out and been like, yeah, shoot that guy. Epstein needs to be shot in the face. And by the way, I've seen great violence, so you're not talking to a guy that doesn't understand the implications of war, because I've seen it. So if you think that somewhere along the line that this is talk tough, I don't want to live in a society where our kids and grandkids and future generations have to put up with this bullshit. And it's not just here, it's everywhere. And you have people that are rising up all over the place. And in the United States, I'm telling you, man, we are pissed. I'm pissed. The government gets to do whatever the hell it wants. The judges can act with impunity. There is no safety valve. There's no valve by which we can operate on right now. And we're just waiting for the powder keg to just go boom. Our guest today is going to talk about the powder keg of boom. Not something you wanted to have on a Friday, right? We should be able to have conversations. I want to go through this really quick before I go to anything else, because I think you guys need to know this. So I was sent a text or an email by Kyle Clark. Kyle Clark is 9 News, and he asked me a simple question. So I'm gonna do this because, frankly, they're about to do a hit piece on me tonight in Colorado. His thing was this. Hi, Joe. I'm working on a story about your frequent. This is the story that 9 News is running, by the way. This is the story. Now, I want you to know that they didn't cover the Christopher Gregory case that we have stacks of information on, related to fraud and abuse in the government related to Polis, Weiser, and Griswold, and judges, Supreme Court justices. I mean, it's so bad, and they cover it up. Okay, he didn't do a story on that, but he wants to do a story on me again. This is probably the 30th story he's done this year to slander me. This piece of shit. Look, I can't be any more upset over it. He says, I'm working on a story about your frequent use of the term synagogue of Satan to refer to some Jewish people in light of your campaign for governor. Your public statements on this are quite extensive, so I have only one question. How do you determine which Jewish people are and are not members of the synagogue of Satan? If you'd like to offer a response to this specific question, I respectfully ask to provide it by Friday. So you tell me if what I wrote is right here. It's long. Kyle, I wanted to write out a long explanation and thought to myself, he won't read it anyway. But let's break it down for you in simple terms. Despite you and others hiding the obvious, I can tell you that most people see it. The sheer amount of evil that these 3 people we are talking about specifically represent is both staggering and obvious. They are faithless, godless, and quite literally evil. So my barometer is actually pretty simple. If what they have done and are doing deliberately designed to hurt the people of the state, are the things that they are doing and their actions resulting in covering up crimes, making victims in our community and serving evil. It's not subjective, it's academic and factual. What Polis, Weiser, and Griswold have done is demonstratively evil, and they did it together. Their lineage and their connections are equally obvious. It has resulted in the state facing an existential crisis that borders on collapse. This is not a Democrat, Independent, or Republican issue. It's a massive betrayal of the people, which anyone outside of the inner circle of these evil people can see clearly. Even those who have muled themselves into their ideological agenda find themselves questioning the intentions of these 3 and their henchmen. The problem is they were never elected. They were selected. And a society does not go off the rails historically if people have a seat at the table. This is historical, not theory. You can see history repeating itself going far back as the Akkadian Empire in 2100 BC or the Qin dynasty nearly 2,000 years later. It was largely what we face today, a legalistic, centralized, captured government which ignored the needs of the people. They overtaxed, legally punished, and lied to the people. The outcome was severe, and it did not end well for the betrayers. I would give you a history lesson on the stealing of the voice, stolen elections, corruption, and despair, but I feel it would land on deaf ears. So I will leave it at this. Stealing elections and representation is not a new phenomenon. It's as old as time. Technology is the gas of today, but the reality is liars and political traitors have been around since the beginning of time. You have lied over and over again about the elections in our state and across the country. I know you're not a stupid man, so I equally know you deliberately mislead the people based on your connected ideology. If you did not, you would call things out that these evil people have done and continue to do. But you do not, because you are incapable of being materially honest. When I use the term synagogue of Satan, I refer to the biblical context. Individuals who are faithless and godless, who serve evil intentions and equally evil outcomes that are directly hiding behind a specific heritage. That describes Jared Polis, Phil Weiser, and Jenna Griswold perfectly. They collectively stand together in their actions and behaviors and use propaganda, dog whistles, and rhetoric to cover up their obvious misdeeds collectively. I then researched, as many would, their backgrounds, what they are, who they associate with. It's not a secret they are an organized crime family of godless zealots who frankly have done awful things to people while dismissing it. This reflects poorly on my Jewish brothers and sisters. It creates animosity towards an entire group when really much of the Jewish population is held hostage by these diabolical people. You use the term anti-Semitic and racist while ignoring the elephant in the room, and that is the truth. I talk to my Jewish friends and family nearly every day, and they say something that is astonishing. Joe, we cannot speak out. It will get us fired. They will take away opportunity, not just from us, but from our children. This is what diabolical, evil, satanic people do. This is what Polis, Weiser, and Griswold have done. If you want to address the elephant in the room and you want to stop the hate against an entire group of people, separate the evil from the good and let the evil answer for what they are and what group they belong to. That is why I call them the synagogue of Satan. They are satanic, and yet they consider themselves a part of a group that does not want them any more than the general population. Here's some examples for you, though. Governor Polis, he has degraded in the last 8 years every part of our state, from hiding the crimes committed to locking up whistleblower Tina Peters, to locking kids up past their release dates in juvenile facilities, to prisoners being treated like animals. He signed off on legislation to allow the grooming of children and led the charge to legalize abortion up to even being born. The sheer number of things this evil man has done is incomprehensible. You see it as ideological or political difference. Tell that to the people who have been victimized. Phil Weiser, the Gregory case, whistleblower case, is monumental. It includes the Colorado Supreme Court and many judges, many of which were appointed by Polis. The federal suit filed in October of 2025 alleged a hidden $3 million bribe and a cover-up via the fake contract is blatant. It's hard to watch him prosecute contractors for fraud while these allegations sit on his own doorstep. And I have not even begun to talk about the people he has attacked as personal favors. That will come out in the next couple of months. Jenna Griswold, I'm out of time. If you want more, I'm happy to write it all down. Until then, good luck on the hit piece. I am long past the dishonesty, much like saying I called for the death of political leaders, which I never did. You will find a way to be dishonest here. So I will go on the air and tell the large audience I have about what I have written here. You want more? Happy to sit down face to face and hash it out the last 6 years. I do not think it will rehabilitate your character, but who knows? With God, anything is possible. So that's what I wrote. And if that doesn't differentiate or show you why I call out these satanic people, these godless Jews that stand together in a fraternity, and are they the only ones? No. But you have to call groups out, or you risk the other groups. And I was at a basketball game with Garrett, and he's a Jewish Catholic. He's a mutt like me. And he said, I'm sitting down with my grandparents, and they're talking about the fact that we've done horrible things to the people of Gaza, the Palestinians. And he started by saying that, oh, this isn't true, and my grandparents are for the people of Gaza. And I'm thinking to myself, no, that's absolutely true. They're right. We should stand up for humanity no matter where it takes us. And we shouldn't be selective or selectively decide that we can justify the killing of women and children anywhere we want, just because we say that they're our enemy or because they have a bad leader. That's like going into a house and wiping out a family because the father went and committed a crime, and you're trying to get in there to... You have to set standards for what is the acceptable loss. And killing generations under the justification that, they tried to attack us, it's just not right. So here's a doctor and just to show you how pervasive this is across the world, in this grip, not by normal people in Israel. It's not a normal, the people of Israel, man, I'm telling you, if you don't know, you don't know. But a vast majority of the people in Israel don't want the wars that they've been thrust into. And they don't trust Bibi, and they don't trust the leadership, and they don't trust this cabal that does business with the Hamas and then says that they're our enemy, and comes to the United States and just takes as much as they possibly can while treating the American people, mostly Christians, like dogs. That's what people that are satanic do. And that's not what God-fearing Jews even do. Or even, let's talk about Muslims, same way. But go ahead, check this out. This is a doctor who's arrested for having an anti-Israel tweet in London.
Is it necessary for social media posts? This is for social media posts?
It's for transport. It's for us. You're going in our van. You're not going. Yeah, you're not going in our police cell. we're going, and we're trying to do this as humanly.
Trying to do this as humanly as possible. But this is what she actually posted. Let's put it up. Hezbollah announces the execution of 80 operations since this morning, the largest daily toll in its history, and death toll has risen to 20. It's a Merkava program. Plus, they force us out of our homes because we are not Jews. And quoting Israel Shahak, claiming Jewish law treats murder of Gentiles less severely than Jews. Police say the breaches are bail, no support for prescribed groups like Hezbollah's military wing, nor stirring racial hatred. She's been arrested 5 times for similar. In the body cam video, she argues it's just against murder. We should all be against murder. And here even more. We want to talk about how Bertie Macron from, the other part of France. Is it France? Yeah. In England? France. That's right. But came to the White House to talk about the First Amendment with Melania. Let's play this.
I do know that I am the United States, a country that I love very much. And here, we are the country of free speech, but I think that liberty does have some rules. We have to be free, but adapt to certain codes. So I believe in these codes. Too many young people are suffering, and they do not tell us, but they send signals, very strong signals from young people and teenagers. So it's up to us to answer them. Let's answer them all together. Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be back.
I find it funny that they used a male voice to talk about Macron. No. Free speech doesn't need a filter because the society takes care of it. And truth should have no harness. You shouldn't be afraid to tell the truth. But how many times, if you're listening, how many times are you afraid to tell the truth because of the outcome or the consequences of that truth? I've never been afraid to tell the truth. But when people attack, you had Mark Levine went after Joe Rogan and discredited everything about Joe Rogan, because that's what the left does, and that's what we've decided to adopt. We adopt the same strategy, same philosophy. And they're like, he really didn't do anything. He was a comedian, and he really didn't. He became an influencer, but he has no success. I mean, he's one of the most successful podcasters in the world. But he basically said that he's nothing but an anti-Semite. So anyone and everyone, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're a whistleblower, you've gone against the government structure, they feel like they should take everything from you, including your reputation. They can do whatever they want. Now, they say you're not allowed to talk about Jews at all. And I talk about the synagogue of Satan because the outcome is much greater and graver if we don't actually separate these evildoers from the people that they say they represent, which they don't. They use it as a beating stick and say you're anti-Semitic. And the same thing can be said for Islamophobia, because you're calling out the fact that they're doing weird shit and trying to marry 9-year-old little girls. Well, I'm sorry. That's just freakish, evil behavior. And so I'm not an Islamophobe. I just read the Surah, I read the Quran, and I know there's certain things in the Quran that you should run away from. And even though you have stuff that's in the Quran that is written, and I'll just say this, it is written in a way that has peace, just like the Bible. It also says that the more further you get into the Quran, that the stuff that happened before is irrelevant. So you have to stay with the new stuff, which is, kill the infidels. Which is why the craziness of what happens in Islam is not being done by scholars. It's being done by people, imams that are inside of mosques that are telling everyone we have to take over the world. So there is no peace and harmony. There is no even on either side with these radicals. And yet we see our lives being stolen by radicals every day. Well, they tell us you're not allowed to talk about the truth. You're not allowed to talk about elections. You're not allowed to talk about people getting their properties taken. You're not allowed to talk about judges that are being bad. You're not allowed to talk about people in government that are committing crimes. And by the way, given free passes. Obvious free passes. And when you get enough people out there that finally have enough, that's when you start seeing big consequences. I want to show you something else. This is from a Houston public school board meeting. and a speaker was shut down after he was reading a book that is available to the children. So you're not allowed to read the book that is available to children because it's pornographic. But let's just walk past it and say, but we want our children reading it. This is how fucking retarded we've gotten. We debate the ridiculous and we act like we're this big elephant. Like we're this strong group of people, and we're like, well, what can we do about it? We can beat their ass. That's what we can do about it. You say, well, they have the cops. I don't give a shit. If you're a cop that stands up for this ridiculousness, you're not a cop. And the Constitution was written in such a way, I'm just going to say this, it was written in such a way that when the oppression becomes so overbearing and the people have no voice, you have a duty, not just a right, you have a duty to throw these assholes out. We know they're stealing elections. We know they're stealing the sovereignty and the future for our children. And we sit around and we're like, yeah, but there's nothing we can do about it. Because you're a bunch of pussies. That's why. Play it.
2 on your agenda, which was book purchasing. Before you purchase new books, you need to get rid of the 500 filthy books that you have. I'm going to read one. If there's children in the audience, they need to leave.
Ma'am, point of order, this is a public hearing.
I understand that.
You will not be allowed to read things that are not appropriate in public.
Oh, not appropriate? Then why are they in your schools?
Ma'am,
this book
you're missing your time.
is in DeBakey, Fur, and Heights High School. His was enormous.
Absolutely not, ma'am. You are now out of order. This is your first warning. One more word and you will be removed.
She wrapped her hand around his. She
Absolutely
across
not.
His broad
This is your
head,
second
tongue
warning.
sliding
Thank you,
into the small slit.
Officer, please
If you
escort
don't like
this
it,
woman
remove
from
it
the
so the
podium.
children don't have access to it.
You're being removed. Thank you very much.
Why? Why in the world would anybody let her be removed?
Yes, sir.
I'd tell the cop to go stick his head in a blender. Get out. Get out. You're like you're advocating for civil disobedience. No. You don't get there is no thing. You want to know why people in the hood are just sick and tired of being sick and tired? Because they don't have a voice. They don't have a voice. We act like the only thing that matters are the people that actually go out and make money. And we see the videos every day of a woman saying, what crime did I commit? Yeah, most of the time it's just a ghetto rat acting like an asshole to a cop. But at least they're honest. At least they're honest. I'm not committing a crime. Okay, my plates, I don't have any money. I can't put plates on my car. Well, then you're not allowed to drive it. I mean, the whole system is designed to basically shit on people. And yeah, I'm pissed off today. I'm really pissed off. We're going to have a guest that is going to come on that's going to talk about a 13-year problem going through the deal, going through the court system. And wait till you hear about the case. But every time we turn around, we got to put up with these politicians, unelected bureaucrats, judges that are appointed by crazy, wacko, gay governors that don't know jack shit, that are so evil that it's hard to even see. You're like, Joe, stop cussing. Man, I'm sorry I'm dropping truth on you. And I'm sorry that we don't do anything about it. We sit around. This woman should not have been removed. It's in the book in the library. And I forget now. Now you're not supposed to say it out loud. You're just supposed to let the children become perverted so they can go get on OnlyFans. So no, I'm going to give you 2 choices, young people. You can be LeBron James or Caitlin Clark, or you can be an OnlyFans star. What the hell is going on? And I sat with my friend's son yesterday, 18 years old, goes to one of the top engineering schools in the country, School of Mines. Top. He's a freshman, almost through. And I'm like, how's your freshman year going? He goes, I have learned nothing that I didn't already know. He's through an entire year. It's like 40 grand, 50 grand a year. I'm like, you haven't learned anything? No, I'm just now starting to learn about thermodynamics, I think he said. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. He's like, no. halfway through his freshman year, 3/4 of the way through it. And here's another one. So you can't, this woman, and this isn't just a problem that's happening over in, and look, I don't care what you think about Israel. If you support Israel, God bless you. If you don't support Israel, God bless you. I don't care. Because I don't have an election system in our own country. And when you tell me that we're overrepresented by a certain group of people, and those people do evil things that lead to the downfall of our entire state. I mean, Colorado is a raging mess. And every LGBTQ whatever and an office that's out there that says that they're advocating for people getting their children's penises cut off and all of this crazy stuff, and they're all run by Jewish people, I got a problem. And I don't mean Jewish meaning Jews. I mean Jewish people meaning really ridiculously evil people who want to keep you silenced. And when you want to, if you can't differentiate that, and we can't start holding people accountable for their bad behavior, then where are we? Where are we? That's not humanity. That's slavery. But you're not allowed to talk about it because the truth, man, you can't tell the truth. When I sit in here and I advocate for poor people, not poor people if they're white, or poor people if they're black, or poor people, just poor people, people that don't have opportunities, that live in deserts. And I talk about things that affect people that are getting murdered. They're getting murdered. And yet we let these pieces of shit back out on the street. You have children being raped, and they want to say that you can rape a child and you only get 6 months in jail. This isn't a functioning society. You can't live in a society that is run by a judiciary that is so rotted to the core that doesn't have 2 tiers of justice. It's got like 8. It's like a caste system. And if you're a good person, they're going to throw the book at you. And they're going to try everything they can to put this net out so they can take away your opportunity. You got this old couple in California that just want to retire and live their life. And they have people coming trying to take from them what's not theirs, because that's how the system is designed. And let me tell you this is a commercial construction contract in Texas. This is actually a contract in Texas, and it says this in the contract. Play it.
Did you know that every commercial construction contract in Texas has a document you have to sign legally binding you to not criticize Israel? What the fuck? It's right here. It has to be signed by anybody who's leasing out their building to a government agency, like a school or an office building. Also have to sign it for any government contracts, including accounting, agriculture, audit, consulting, engineering, legal, program development, real estate, any other professional service, asset management, brokerage, cash management, credit card, financial custodian, insurance, investment advisory, investment banking, proxy advisory, reporting, securities lending, trustee or trust, any other services related to financial products. You'll get put on a list, dude. Look, here's a little list of Israel boycotters right here on the contract. Ben & Jerry's? Leave the ice cream out of that.
We're going to talk about Pennsylvania in a minute, but why don't we talk about Virginia, since we have a CIA operative. The people of Virginia said, you know what I want? I want a CIA operator to become the governor of Virginia. That makes sense to you. So you got the CIA working for the FBI, CIA working for Facebook, CIA work. Do you see what's happening? And we go over to different. I was in other countries. I watched it happen. We literally destroyed the sovereignty of other nations. Now we have an election system in the United States that we use to circumvent elections all over the world, over 70 by whistleblowers' accounts. And we can see that there's a massive problem. We could get rid of it tomorrow and cause the entire American people to take a deep breath. You could eliminate a ton of stuff, even if you just got the SAVE Act done, but you can't do that. Can't do that either. But here's what they're doing in Virginia. So you're not allowed to talk about Israel. You're not allowed to talk about, you could attack Christians all you want, by the way. You could just beat the hell out of them. Just do whatever the hell you want to them. And if they're white, it's even better, right? They'll just justify it and let you out after a slap on the wrist, as they're doing to people that are out there killing white people. Because God forbid, the same people that run these LGMP, whatever, ADLs, the Anti-Defamation League, the only thing the Anti-Defamation League does is defame people. That's all it does. But here's what's happening in Virginia. This is a Virginia senator introduced a bill to make Islamophobia a hate crime. So you can't talk about radical Islam and raping children and maybe having 8 wives and 8 different houses that are all on the government ticket. No, you can't do that either. Play it.
Virginia is becoming Islamified right in front of our eyes. This is Virginia Senate Bill 624, introduced last month, January 2026, by State Senator Saddam Islam Salim, a Democrat representing the 37th District. The bill formally inserts a definition of Islamophobia into Virginia's assault and battery laws. It defines Islamophobia as malicious prejudice or hatred toward Islam or Muslims. But it applies even if the alleged victim isn't Muslim, as long as someone claims you targeted them based on a perceived connection to Islam. Perceived. The bill directs the Virginia State Police, the Attorney General, and the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion to track and catalog these cases in a hate crime reporting system. And I have to argue that would be unconstitutional. There would have to be physical damage or property damage to be labeled as a hate crime. To speak your mind is simply free speech. And all of this comes right after Virginia elected Muslim Lieutenant Governor Ghazla Hashmi was just sworn in on a Quran. Don't be surprised if Sharia law becomes mandatory in the Commonwealth of Virginia in the coming weeks.
Okay. We have lost confidence in our government long ago. But the grift and the corruption, it's just gotten out of hand. And it's not that hard to fix. It's not that hard to fix. But it is going to take mass civil unrest in order to fix it. And I'm not talking about protests. Protests have gotten us nowhere. What it's gotten us is the ability to feel like we're, again, trapped in this little fishbowl and they can do whatever the hell they want to us. And look, you can not like what I'm saying. You can not like what I'm saying. You cannot. You can say, oh, Joe, you're being anti-Semitic. And I would tell you, I'm not self-loathing, number one. I'm not a leftist. This is not the thing where you say, well, I have a gay friend, so I can't be a homophobe. The dog whistles don't work on me. I think you can fix things tactically and get to a place where you can recognize people individually as being good or bad. The problem is that once you find out they're bad, those jokers got to go. So let me tell you about our guest. Our guest was talking about Phil Latham, and Phil's going through some stuff. I'm trying to work as fast as I can, but he's got 10 years of weight on him, and that case is taking it's like it's everywhere. But Michael contacted me, and let me just tell you about him first. So he's a telecommunication broadband expert. He's got a couple decades of experience, and he's got a fascinating history, even going back to his mother years ago. He's guided by the NASA mantra of legendary flight director Eugene Kranz: failure is not an option. He built his career on relentless commitment to success. And he specializes in seeing the big picture, delivering cost savings, tight timelines, government interface, and thinking outside the box. He's kind of like me, with a little bit more experience in this area, though. But he's personally experiencing government corruption in Pennsylvania, and he now warns investors, if you intend to invest in Pennsylvania, you must talk to me first. I can help you avoid losing millions due to systemic corruption. So Stephen Smith is also joining us. He has over 30 years of experience in the mortgage and financial services industry, and he too is a part of this case we're about to talk about. He's a former mortgage company owner who built a strong foundation in lending operations, regulatory compliance, and client advocacy. He's known for his consultative style and long-term client relationships, and he specializes in reverse mortgages. And so he has a deep understanding of client-centered mindset. He's committed to providing clear, transparent guidance as homeowners can make confident, informed financial decisions in retirement. Okay, so that tells you a little bit about these guys. So then why would you bring them on, Joe? Like, why did you pick this? Why did you pick this battle? So they have a 13-year fight against kind of the small town dysfunction, and it's a pretty big cover-up. And so I'm going to let them tell you about the cover-up, but I will tell you, it ends with them being right after 13 years. And now they want to take that they're being right and the settlement, and they're trying to keep it. They're trying to gobble it all up. Michael, Steve, welcome to the show. You guys are on mute, so you have to unmute for me. You're still muted. Hit the little button. Come on, you guys are killing me. You're technologists. This even makes it worse.
There we go. How's that?
There you go. Got it.
Hey, first of all, Joe, I'd like to thank you and my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for giving us this opportunity to tell the truth of what really has happened here.
Yeah.
And personally, Steve's trying to get the unmute there. I'm the tech guy.
Yeah.
But
we're gonna have to send Steve a carrier pigeon.
I would like to personally thank Steve and his wife, because if it wasn't for Steve and his wife, I would have never survived these 13 years. So, we can go from there. I think if Steve looks, he's probably pressing the button too fast, but that's okay. Go get it.
Okay, so as soon as you can talk, Steve, as soon as you feel like you've gotten it, we'll hear you. Tell us about the story. Take us back 13 years. How did it start?
All right.
Give me the Reader's Digest version the way you gave it to me when we were on the phone.
You got it. In 2010, my oldest daughter, my stepdaughter, technically, she was graduating high school. And she said, Dad, I said to her, well, you got to get ready for college, start planning college, et cetera, just like any parent, works with their children.
Yeah.
And she said to me, Dad, there's no jobs up here that I need a college education for unless I want to become a doctor or a lawyer. And she didn't want to become either one of those. So I said, let me take a look and see what's going on around here. And I did. I researched what's happening in the area, what the industries are, what the layout of the land is, and what's possible, what's not possible. So I have worked all over the world with large-scale computer systems. For example, in the 80s, I worked with a gentleman known as Dr. Joseph Jaglowski, who's in the who's who of the FAA, and we worked on the TCAS system and the ground control system for all of the FAA airports and the air traffic control. And I sat down and I looked with that background, what would fit up here with my background and what I can do. And it came to, at that time in history, going back 15 years, 16 years now, almost in May, that the internet was really starting to explode, wide area networks from my day, but the internet was really starting to explode. E-manufacturing was coming online, and people were talking about cell phones and LTE and different types of telecommunications.
Yeah, now we're 5G.
Well, here's the interesting thing, Joe. We were working at that time as part of this project with a company called Proxim Wireless. And Proxim Wireless at that time, 15 years ago, well, it would have been 13 years ago, at that time had a bench model of 5G technology. And we were going to prototype it up here and tweak it up here.
Okay.
Before they put it out on the international market.
So it's like a mesh network, or are you trying to do what?
Well, it was a combination of tower to tower mesh networks. We even talked to some people who worked with the POTS lines, plain old telephone lines, the copper lines, that could tie into local. I'm going to call it Wi-Fi, but local Wi-Fi, and you could beam your signal through the copper lines to the fiber optic lines back to a main trunk line. Now, the big problem here when we started was in Wayne County. Wayne County, Pennsylvania is in the northernmost corner of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And in order to do this kind of broadband and, working with that type of situation, you have to have what they call an OC 192 line, all right, which is a 100 gigabit per pair line that might have 100 pairs in it. So you need a serious backbone. This is DoD level. This is stuff that goes coast to coast, carrying all the traffic, that kind of stuff. And we got with Verizon, and we got Verizon to talk to us that there is an OC 192 line in the area, and that we would be able to tap into. And, it wasn't that simple, but it could happen. And that would have brought hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs to this area, because as part of what we were doing for Wayne County, we were working with WEDCO, which is the Wayne Economic Development Corporation, and a subdivision of theirs that does Workforce Wayne, which did, training for computers. In other words, they train rural America. And when I say we're rural America, Wayne County is probably the 6th largest county by size, but it only has somewhere between 27 and 50,000 people full-time here. So you can get 27,000 people in a 5 square block area in Philadelphia. All right. So we're very spread out, and we were going to create a situation where the people of Wayne County could be a remote workforce to the city of New York City. That's the project in a nutshell, sort of. There's a lot more about data storage and offshoring for banks and offshoring.
Okay, let's just simplify it down to this. So you got involved in this project, and you had a partner.
Correct.
And that partner. Okay, you're here. So bring him in. So
how are you, Joe?
I'm really good. Good. Sorry, the carrier pigeon got to you, and we got the mic fixed.
He did. He dropped me a line. Yeah. Thank you.
So you have a breach of contract. So then through all this deal, you had another builder that was involved in this, correct?
No, not that. No, that's getting a little. What happened was we were the developers that worked with DCED. How I became in contact with Steve, I knew Steve prior to all this, but I came to him as he's the finance guy to finance the project. To build, what we had to do was build a telecommunications hub with the fiber optics that we were working with Verizon. And, that's a very specialized building. And the program that we ended up working with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania was called DCED, which stands for Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development. And that was a grant from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to rebuild a downtown Main Street building into a telecommunications hub. And the grant required it required a 2-to-1 matching financing. Steve, the finance guy, and he could talk to you all about how that came about.
Right. I mean, it was a 2-to-1 financing, so we gathered a bunch of small investors, pretty much, a lot of family and friends or whatever, and raised some capital, and then took mortgage loans on the property as well.
All right, how much capital did you raise?
Not much, because the building was only $165,000 to purchase. So, it was basically a startup. We only raised about $150,000, and then took loans for the rest. And then, everyone was really excited in the community. Even Senator Baker came and looked at the project. And it was like, yeah, we got to get these guys some money. Let's get this done. This could be very good for Wayne County and Pike County, because we were going to do Pike County as well. So everyone was fairly excited in the beginning, and then I don't know, it just turned into a nightmare.
Okay, so let's put up this article if we can. Put us all three on here. This is an article in the Times Tribune. Can we put it up? Okay. So this was in the Times Tribune back in 2019. Is that when you started the lawsuit?
No,
Mike knows all that way before.
2015. Well, 13 actually.
Okay, but you had them. So I read all the stuff inside of this article, and this is when a judge ruled that the suit can proceed.
That's correct.
Was in 2019.
Because it was in a stay from bankruptcy court.
Because the person you were suing was in bankruptcy.
No.
The company was in bankruptcy.
You were in bankruptcy. See, this is why. I mean, as I was going through all the documents, my brain was on fire because I'm trying to figure out who's the antagonist, who's the protagonist, and all of this. It's very complicated. It's complicated.
This was a very complicated project. We had partners with not only Verizon, the DCED, the Pennsylvania State Police, because we needed their 911 towers to work out, communications down to into what they call the last mile.
Right.
This was extremely complicated. Never tried this way before, but Verizon truly believed that we, through Proxim Wireless, had the technology to make this happen.
We had the right plan, is what it came down to. And then they've been trying ever since to do what we were going to do, and actually using Mike's plans, so sort of an infringement there. And they've spent, from what I hear, almost $10 million trying to do it, and they still don't have it up and running. And that's government money, I'm sure.
Okay, so they took your project, bankrupted it, and this had a lot to do with the city itself.
The Borough of Honesdale.
Borough of Honesdale, yeah.
So they sabotaged it because they didn't turn in paperwork, right? That's where it all started.
Correct. And the bank we were dealing with, in order to take any withdrawals of the line of credits we were using to fix up the building, it had to be approved by the Borough of Honesdale before they would release the funds. And they wouldn't send over approval to the bank. The bank even walked over there and tried to get them to release funds. They wouldn't, and just delayed it. Contractors walked off the job because we couldn't pay them. Mike ended up taking another $100,000 out of his house in equity to pay the back fees for these contractors. And then everyone knew, the articles were coming out in the paper, and everyone knew, we're like a wounded animal now. So to get anything done in that building, people were charging us 3-4 times the normal cost. So I mean, they just tanked the project. I mean, it's you had local politicians up there talking to contractors and telling them not to do work in the building, stay away from them, they're horrible. We had a man that was doing our fire escape, took a $12,000 payment, dropped about $3,000 or $4,000 worth of steel in the back, said he read the article in the newspaper that we're stealing from local consumers, blah, 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 blah. He never showed up. It took our $12,000 and left the thing of steel. I actually had to hire contractors from New York to come up there to do work because we couldn't get anyone to even work on the building. Nuts.
Okay, so it sounds like a dispute. You're in a dispute though with the town.
Yeah, we had a suit against the Borough of Honesdale.
Mm-hmm. But you sued them in 2015. It took 4 years for you to get the green light because of the bankruptcy that they forced you into.
Right.
Okay. So I think I got all this straight. Now I'm on the straight and narrow. This goes through all the documentation that I have that Mike sent to me. Okay.
Okay.
So Mike takes out an extra $100,000 to try and keep the contract afloat. People are doing all sorts of stuff to sabotage it, probably at the behest of somebody at the borough, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever identify who that person is?
Yeah, but in fear of getting in more trouble with that borough, I'd rather not say.
Okay, so we're not allowed to talk about the truth. We just talked about this before. Not allowed to talk about the truth because the truth wants to get you in more trouble because then they'll come after you and do more to you.
Well, it's kind of why I said to Patrick about, and you and I spoke on the phone about it, and an email about getting the DOJ involved in looking into an investigation in here because it is escalated beyond human comprehension.
Right. And Joe, you know the players. I mean, it's the same group of players that you dealt with your prior story with the gentleman from Pennsylvania. So, I mean, put it together and look into that, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, same
people.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
exact.
But this went on for 13 years. In the 13 years, they tried to steal your project and do it themselves. They don't have the expertise to do it, right?
Right.
So
I heard Verizon canceled them too, or said they won't deal with them because they don't know what the heck they're doing.
Yeah, Verizon actually said they will not ever deal with these people up here.
Okay. So you have to have a couple people that are the problems behind all this. But you also have to have judges that are complicit in this behavior.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that for a minute. Can you name judges? Can we do that, or we're not?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, I think we can name the one judge that non-suited us 15 minutes before the jury went in to determine damages.
Okay, so
she non-suited us.
Time out.
Yeah.
You won the lawsuit.
Correct.
Okay, so it took 13 years, actually 12 and a half. You won the lawsuit.
Right.
You won the lawsuit against the borough, right? Correct?
Correct.
Correct.
And how much was that lawsuit? What was the what were you seeking?
We were seeking 9.8 million. The attorney representing the bankruptcy court cut that way low, ended up getting a $2.6 million judgment plus 1.7 in back interest that's still in the courts today.
Okay, so you have about $4 million.
4.3, yeah.
Okay. Now,
but we don't have a judgment for the 1.7 yet. That's on hold.
But right before you were getting ready to go to the jury, 15 minutes before, they took the two of you who were in the suit and took you off the lawsuit 15 minutes before.
Correct.
Correct.
All right. Who asked her to do that, or did she do this sua sponte?
No, the defense counsel for the borough of Honesdale asked her to do it, but it seemed like everyone was pretty complicit with it. Every attorney in that room.
And can I explain something, Joe, with that
Yeah.
whole thing? We were non-suited because we had no personal damages under a breach of contract. But the judge sitting there, when I was on the stand testifying, heard me say I took $100,000 extra equity out of my home to make sure the contractors got paid because Honesdale wasn't doing its job.
Okay.
I did not invest an extra $100,000 into the project. I had to act on an emergency situation because the contractors were suing not only the company, but Steve and I personally.
And Mike literally took out a $150,000 credit line in the beginning too against this house. So I mean, and you know he's still being threatened of foreclosure on that. So it's you know threats. Do what we say, obey, or you know
sign the papers.
Yeah, sign or we'll take your house. Sign or the you know.
So the 2.7 million, the 2.6 million, excuse me, should have gone to the two of you, because the company is defunct, so it should have paid those debts, and what was left should have been given to the two of you, correct?
Two of us, or the investors who were paying interest.
Right. I mean, but the investors would get their money because obviously you would take that money would come to you and you would disperse it back to the people that lost that money, correct?
Right.
Correct.
And
Correct.
Joe, I want to say there's an angle here that we have no proof of. I'm going to say we have no proof of, and it's speculation. But understand, without Steve and me on the judgment, we're not on the judgment either. See, Steve and I are not in bankruptcy. Therefore, we could have pursued the judgment independently of the bankruptcy court.
And we would have got it. Easy.
So this was all done undercover. I mean, they basically just screwing people.
Yeah,
right?
In plain daylight.
Yeah.
It was done in open court. But yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's
Now,
disgusting how they operate up there. It really is.
That would be a constitutional issue, because I do see that in 2014, you tried to take it to federal court. So now you could remand this to federal court based on the constitutional issue of due process, right? And so is your lawyer talking about that now or no? Or
No, you know what? We've spent over $185,000 in a lawyer so far. And then she non-suits us, so I can't even recover any of that. But, you know, it's not being talked about because I fear there's a lot of fear from attorneys to go against the bankruptcy court itself. You know, anyone that works in bankruptcy in the Middle District would actually, you know, it's like, you know, don't shit where you eat, basically, right? So if you come after the players in the bankruptcy court, then you're not going to get a ruling in your favor ever. You know, I mean, that's the way I look at it. It's a pure pressure campaign against the actual attorneys as well.
Now, also, since Steve brought that up, Joe, another fact I never got to talk about, Patrick, in the 13 years, almost 13 years, in Wayne County Courthouse, we never had one major decision go in our favor. Everything.
But all the appeals court.
Right.
Yeah.
It always had to be the appellate court
or the state Supreme Court.
Yeah.
All right. So you had the state Supreme Court involved in this. All of those rulings were in your favor.
Correct.
Correct.
So all of these things are in your favor. The municipal court that you have, the local court that you have, those were, I think her name is Judge Edwards.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. She's the one that non-suited you right before the jury deliberation. This person.
Correct.
That's
so
correct.
And
I mean, personally, Joe, I'd love to ask the 12 people who issued the $2.6 million who they thought they were giving it to. Me and Steve? Or
to all the attorneys.
Okay, so the current, $2.6 million verdict plus $1.7 million, you're waiting on appeal decision on the 1.7.
That's on hold, which I don't
It's on hold right now because they're trying to settle with us.
They're trying to force a settlement with you.
Well, yeah, in a way, yeah. I mean, it's either sign or we get nothing, is what they told us.
Well, that's not true. That's not true at all. I think we have to have a conversation with the DOJ. Have you talked to the AUSA in Pennsylvania?
Well, Mike has, I'm sure, but we've tried to convert back to an 11, and we had the Justice Department's approval on that at one point. So give it back to us. We'll get out of bankruptcy. We can, you know, go after this whole judgment ourselves. And they didn't answer our motion to change from a 7 to an 11 back to a motion to dismiss the bankruptcy for 9 years. Because they wanted to see how this lawsuit was going to go so they can grab it.
Okay, so hold on a second. So you now have a petition on the table to convert it back to a Chapter 11?
No, we did. How many years ago, Mike?
Well,
9 years ago.
What happened was, Steve's, I mean, this is a long, very complicated case. when we first got switched from an 11 to a 7,
Yeah.
they did it without any notice of a hearing. I even have the transcript from Judge Thomas.
Is the case still open? Is the Chapter 7 still open?
Yes.
So just voluntarily dismiss it.
Well, they won't.
They won't.
That's not,
We put in to voluntarily dismiss
guys, listen to me. You now have assets, $2.7 million, $6 million, right? All right. So your lawyer's retarded if they didn't do this. Okay. You can, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it because maybe he's a really good lawyer, went to Harvard. I don't care, but I'm just telling you that when you go to Chapter 7 and it's going on this long, you can file a petition based on the solvency of the organization, based upon the litigation outcome, and you can dismiss the Chapter 7 by saying that you will satisfy the creditors.
Yeah, try that in the Middle District.
Joe, and I know, like I'm overextending my gratitude here, or whatever it is. But if you have somebody that will do that for us,
take this on.
Love.
It's all sitting there.
Bro, listen to me. This is a federal action. A bankruptcy deal is a federal action. It is not it is not in the state court at all. It is a federal action. Okay? You got that?
Right.
Yep.
So telling you that all you have to do, because I assume you're still the people in charge of the company.
Yes.
Yes,
well,
we're still the members. I mean, we have no say, but
this is super easy. Is your lawyer like telling you that you can't do this? I mean, what?
Yes.
Get the f out of here. Are you kidding me?
No.
Yeah.
All right.
There's nothing we can do. Nothing we can do.
Joe,
your bankruptcy lawyer said that?
Nah, she's not a bankruptcy lawyer. That's the problem. But we've had other bankruptcy lawyers, and like I said, they don't want to go up against the Middle District. I
they
believe
don't have
for
to
fear.
go up against the Middle District. This has nothing to do with the Middle District. This has nothing to do with it. Middle District can stick it up their ass. This has to do with the federal court. The federal court. You're going to walk it into federal court, and you're going to say it's a one-page document, right? That we have assets of recovery that will exceed the creditors, and we're going to settle with the creditors for what they're owed, and we are going to take it out of bankruptcy. Thank you very much. Press hard, 2 copies. Here's your copy. Thank you very much. And by the way, now we can go get and now the company can go get the $2.6 million and tell them to piss off down the river.
Plus the 1.7.
Plus the 1.7.
Yeah.
What
and
else
then
are we
everyone would
talking
be
about
paid back in full.
How is it? How in the world is this even a thing? Somebody in the comments, get me your attorney in. Now, I did have, with the Phil Latham deal, I had trouble finding any lawyer within like 100 miles that even wanted anything to do it. They didn't. Yeah. They literally said that if there was a Bermuda Triangle, that's it. Like, that's the place you don't go. Seriously. That's
the same problem we have.
Okay, so you have 2 things. We're working this problem. We're going to get this all done for you. First of all,
get it done.
The Chapter 7 is still in process because there's some things. That's why they're pushing hard to get you to settle. Just so you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
They know that the second you get in front of the bankruptcy court, and by the way, who's the trustee?
Robert Shields.
All right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to call Robert Shields off the air and have a little fun with him, right?
Good.
And I'm going to be like, listen, retard. They got a judgment for $2.6 million. They are still the executors of this company. That how much is the debt that was owed? How much is the debt?
$21,000
in bank. Wow, legitimate debt. Yeah,
legitimate debt.
I mean,
plus
everyone is
the shareholders.
removed.
Plus the shareholders.
Right, we have to pay
the
that.
Shareholders.
Okay. We have a question. Plus the bank is owed some money.
Okay.
But maybe it's $300,000 to the bank.
Okay, listen.
$320.
Even if it took interest over the last 13 years, it's $400, $450, whatever. It doesn't matter, right?
Whatever. Yeah. Right.
Right.
All right. Who's the 21 grand owed to?
Well,
That's
some we object to, others. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
The electric company, the insurance company, other things that went down the tubes when the building went down the tubes.
All right. So here's your problem. You're actually trying to fight the forest fire that doesn't exist, while actually not fighting the forest fire that does exist. And it's really simple. Okay. I'm gonna slow this down. Hey, give me some crayons, guys. I'm gonna start eating crayons so I can tell these guys. The bankruptcy is a voluntary process. It's a voluntary process. If you have a $2.6 million deal for the organization, it's a voluntary process. In other words, you're not forced into bankruptcy, right? You decided you had to sign on the little paper to bankrupt the company.
Yeah. That was for the 13.
11.
All right.
Or 11. Sorry. Yeah.
All right.
And we tried to remove from the 11, and they would not allow us.
Are you in 11 now?
No,
we're in a 7.
Okay. So
that's the issue.
They forced us into a 7 with no hearing. They had a hearing, but we weren't there.
Okay, listen to me. It doesn't matter if it's in a 7. It has not been closed.
No.
And it can't be closed because you have a $2.6 million judgment with $1.7 million on the hook as well.
Right, but they want to settle it for 1.2.
They can stick it up their ass. They don't get to decide that. Listen to me.
That's not what we're being told.
$21,000 and you have no. That's because you haven't played hardball with these guys. Okay, they don't control the federal court, right? They do not control the federal court. I'm telling you, I'm gonna get on a plane. I swear to you, I'm coming out there.
I will buy you dinner, Joe.
Huh?
Let me know when you're coming. I'll pick you up.
All right, listen. We go meet with these guys and we're like, listen, I don't give a shit what you guys say about the Chapter 7. We're not doing it. We have a thing against a municipality that can't go bankrupt, and they owe $2.6 million. I don't care if they pay in pennies. They're going to give us. If they did, it'd be more because a penny's actually worth 3 cents. But I mean, so if I don't care if they pay in pennies. We're going to dismiss the bankruptcy. We're done with it. We're going to reaffirm the debt of the 21 grand. We're going to pay it. The $300,000, Mr. Banker, we're going to pay your 300 grand plus whatever the interest rate is over the last 13 years. Then we're going to settle for you for 450. Sign this document right here. I got 450 going here. I got 21,000 plus some bills here. That goes there. What are you bankrupting? There's no bankrupting it. I have an asset that's worth more than the bankruptcy. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Jones over here, a part of this borough, go f*** off. We're going to take that money. You're going to pay us the 1.7. You're going to pay us the 2.6, and we're going to move on.
I like
Sounds
it.
good to me.
The problem is they put obstacles in front of you and said, you must do this, you must do that.
Right.
And they are deathly afraid of a guy like me coming in the middle saying, wait a minute, the bankruptcy? We need to call the trustee. Can we phone a friend? Let's call the trustee while we're on the show. That would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah. He's
probably
gone. It's after 5.
No, he would retaliate against me, Joe. I'm the only one local, and I have to tell you and tell your audience, we have already received threats and death threats to my family and my children. All right, and you can check that with AT&T security. That's not a joke.
Okay, I think we're uncovering there's a bigger issue here, right? First of all, I hope you have a gun. If you don't, go to DCF Guns. I'll bring one out for you. Right?
I'm a Type 7 FFL.
Oh, okay. Well, then just tell them.
He's got a tank.
Just tell them to make peace with God first. Then, when they come on over, say, "How big a boy are you?" I just want to make sure that I have the plastic for you, just so I can, put you in it.
Well, I have the gold coins like John does.
All right, listen. I know that you're probably saying to yourself, Joe, we've tried this. No, you haven't. A bankruptcy is voluntary. Once you have an asset that exceeds the amount of the bankruptcy, and it's a collectible debt, it's a collectible instrument, which against the municipality, all you have to do is tap them, right? Tap, tap, period. They have to pay it. Then you can say, I am dissolving the bankruptcy and I am going to reaffirm the debt. End stop. The question's over. Give me the $2.6 million. I'm still the CEO, Mr. and Mrs. Smirkface, and we're going to go ahead and collect the 2.6 from you plus the 1.7. Thank you, Daddy. Can I have another? What else?
I mean,
it's funny. Not one attorney up here has told us that.
It's funny.
Exactly. Not even the bankruptcy attorneys.
Yeah.
Hey,
not even the
not one bankruptcy attorney has ever told us that.
Not even the U.S. trustee in the Washington office has told us that.
But listen to me. I'm not telling. Look, Google me. But
no. I
just get on LexisNexis. I'm not telling you anything.
I know you're telling me the truth.
Yes.
But every time we've asked the question.
Yeah, that's the problem. You ask permission and you ask the question. I'm telling you right now. You have a $2.6 million instrument. You have a bankruptcy over here with 21 grand. By the way, after the bankruptcy is done, whatever the assets are left belong to you anyway. So the $2.6 million, even if they did pull you out of it, you're still officers of that company, correct?
Right. But the trustee's trying to pay the attorney a third of the recovery.
They're not allowed to do that. Because you're telling them that we don't want the bankruptcy.
Right.
Right?
Right.
You're saying we're done with the bankruptcy.
Well, help us out, Joe, and I'll give you a big steak dinner.
Go ahead, Steve.
No, I was just saying, if he could help, then please. Big steak dinner in for it. Yeah.
So I'm gonna call Peter. I'm gonna call one of my friends that's an attorney, David and Peter. I gotta find someone. I just got to find a lawyer in Pennsylvania that wants to be in the Bermuda Triangle. But this is different. This is the bankruptcy court, which is completely different than the state court. Okay, just so you know, it's different. Okay, but we've got to find a way to get somebody in there. So they wanted you to. This gets worse. 2.6, 1.7, 4.3. They want you to settle for 80 grand. Correct?
Well, to us personally. After 13 years of, after everything, they want to pay the investors back their initial investment, give us $80,000 apiece, and then the rest goes to the attorneys and the bank.
That's not the way it goes. That's not how it works. It's not how it works.
Okay.
And they don't get to control it. They don't get to control it. But so this what I'm talking about right now, we'll get to. I'll send it over to some attorneys. I'll also send it over to someone that I know in the DOJ. We have to get a hold of the AUSA, so we got to make a list. Michael, you've talked to the AUSA or you haven't?
Not the AUSA, but I'm writing it down.
So this case has to go to the AUSA. The AUSA is the Assistant U.S. Attorney, right? My guess says he doesn't have an appetite for a lot of things that are happening in Pennsylvania. That's why you had people that were removed from Pennsylvania in the DOJ because they wanted to keep this grift going of what you're talking about. Okay?
Right.
All right. So we got to get a meeting with the AUSA. That should be number one. Got to have all the packets ready and everything on the bankruptcy ready. Do you have the motion to convert it from a 7 back to an 11 that you filed 9 years ago, and the fact that they failed to rule on it?
I have. I don't. Yeah. We have that paperwork, but we also have a new motion ready to go.
Man, I'm going to get some death threats from people there when I help you recover your $4.3 million. Okay.
I wouldn't doubt it.
All right. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so it'll be good to get out there with you guys.
Fan. Sorry.
Well, that's, yeah. Steve, you're the last one standing, man. Which one are you?
Namath days.
Don't tell me you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan.
No, I'm a Jets fan.
Yeah, Steve.
Namath days.
No, me. You're going to hate me. I'm a Cowboys fan. I know. You're not going to help us anymore, right? They indoctrinated me back in 4th grade.
Yeah.
America's team.
Oh, you got.
But then, after they get knocked out every year, I go for Buffalo. So.
I don't even know what to say to you. This has got awkward. I'm just picturing you in like a cowboy outfit, walking around saying, "Come on, pony."
Yeah.
Mike, I was all in to come out there. Now I'm like, I have to question it. I'm like,
No. If I have to take care of Steve,
you fix this, and I'll become any fan you want.
Hey,
okay.
Joe, now we have a bet going.
Yeah.
You fix this, he becomes a Pittsburgh fan.
Yeah, that's right. And you have to dress up. I mean,
whatever.
He gets in the
You
whole
name it.
outfit. Wait, he gets
You
in the
name it.
Pittsburgh cheerleader outfit.
No, whatever.
I don't think this is a difficult one to solve. Really, it really isn't. And I mean, I say that, and I know that you're like, God, Joe, you don't have no idea. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. I do have an idea. The bankruptcy conversion, the jurisdiction of this has to be. It has to be over the last 13 years. You've also put in money for lawyers, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, and have they said they'd give you that money back as well, or no?
No.
So they want you.
I can't recover any funds spent on lawyers to defend ourselves and to sue them.
But they want to take a third and they want to hand it to attorneys.
Yeah. But they want $400,000 for their fees.
Fuck? Get out of here. That's not even real.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing you have to do is we have to outline this. I'm doing this on the show, so you guys can. What's everybody saying here? Courts can't do that. It's illegal. The courts always do it anyway. Say what you're going to do. What are you going to do about it? Okay, so what we're going to do about it is we're going to actually fight it. And yeah, the judiciary is rotted to the core, but you still have some pull. I'm answering Chris on the comments. You still have some pull on how you actually get the courts to act, because they don't want this uncovered either, right? So the first thing we're going to do is get with hold of the AUSA. We got to get all the documents in order. Make sure you have all the documents, right? I mean, based on what you sent me, Mike, I believe that you keep pretty good records, right?
He does.
All right. So then we have to put that into documentum. So paper. You got to put it in big folders, right? And we walk it down there, beep, bop, bop. That's probably a lot of paper, by the way. A lot of trees we're going to have to kill. We walk the paper, beep, bop, 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 down there. We make sure we file the deal. You should do this immediately tomorrow to reaffirm the debt and to dismiss the Chapter 7 bankruptcy. That will literally open up heaven's door, because at that point, that'll allow you to have the conversation outside the trustee. You're dismissing the trustee. You're telling the trustee to f*** off, right? Sorry, I'm cussing a lot today. You guys are gonna have to get mad at me, but I'm kind of like pissed. Okay, so I have a pretty good idea of how we can do this, and yes, you'll win. I think you can get your money. I mean, based on what you're telling me, I'm telling you that, and the fact that you're getting death threats. Keep a recorder on your phone.
Oh, it was reported to AT&T Security. They traced it down.
Oh, did they?
Aren't you wearing a body cam too, Mike?
What's that?
Are you still wearing your body cam?
Body cam and body armor.
Yeah.
All right. So okay. All right. Well, I don't feel so bad about this now that I understand it. So the key to it is dismissing the bankruptcy, and they want to settle this before you do that, before you figure that out.
Correct.
Right. So
they're forcing us, pushing us.
And I'll talk to Steve off the air about this one, but what's even worse is we actually hired a law firm to do exactly that, and they screwed us.
Yeah. Did absolutely nothing.
To dismiss the Chapter 7, right?
Correct. To put a motion in to come from a 7 back to an 11. And they're all like, no, that can't be done. That'll never get done. Just
Great. You don't need to do that. It's really simple. You don't need to do that. You're dismissing the bankruptcy and reaffirming the debt. Next. You got to settle an asset that exceeds the bankruptcy. The bankruptcy court doesn't get to claw back on you. That's not how it works. You dismiss it, you reaffirm the debt. It is supposed to be a court that allows for you to absolve liability. That's why you have bankruptcy courts, right?
Right.
You're
it's
saying,
a court of equity, supposedly.
Yeah. So you're reaffirming the debt, and you're putting yourself back in a position in the driver's seat, and then you say, "Give me the $2.6 million." You go down there and you collect the $2.6 million plus the 1.7, 4.3. It's super easy, and it doesn't matter to you if you have 100,000 extra here and 100,000 there. You're going to be so far ahead in this deal. I'll send you my bill too.
Absolutely. Get on there. You can be a creditor.
But my point is that this isn't a very difficult problem. It's just difficult when you're in the forest. You've been doing this for 13 years. So you don't know what you don't know. The bankruptcy can't be absolved because of the fact that, and the trustee, by the way, has probably been a trustee for a long time. This is the same thing, by the way, that Phil Latham has in his case. Very, very shady stuff happening related to the trustee and the bankruptcy and the previous legal issues that he had.
Right.
Okay.
It's a den, Joe. It's a den of iniquity up here, and I come from Philadelphia.
All right, so
and people in Philly are saints compared to the people up here.
Okay, let's do this. Patrick, make sure that Lynn puts a meeting together Monday, please, and we'll do a follow up on this. Look, I don't even play a lawyer on TV, but I've been doing this for 30 years, and I can tell you right now that I've seen it all, and I'm not wrong. Right? You want to get out of a bankruptcy deal? You just say reaffirming the debt. 13 years later, it's still open. Lift the gates. Tell the bankruptcy court to piss off. Tell the trustee to piss off, and then you go straight down the straight and narrow. Yes. Yeah, for Monday. All right. Well, that was easy.
Awesome. Very appreciative, Joe. Thank you.
So here's the other thing. You have to send an email to everyone. I need to talk to my lawyer friend who's out there. I think he is licensed in Pennsylvania. I know that Stephanie Lambert is. She'd have a heyday on this case.
Well, here's the thing. Can't you do a co-counsel type thing with an out-of-state and get approved?
It's called ad hoc vice. So you have a lawyer that basically attaches himself to a law firm that's local. And because it's a federal bankruptcy court, it could be out of Philadelphia. It could be, whatever the competent jurisdiction is for that. I think it's Philly. You're not that far from Philly.
3 hours.
Yeah. So you'd file a motion. You'd file a couple motions. One of the motions will be to notify the court that you have a runaway trustee, right? A trustee that's doing harm to you, right? And you also should file a claim against the trustee and the other lawyers with the judicial disciplinary deal. So you want to make as much noise as possible so they just make you go away, right? Because they don't want this to go. You're still going to have to notify the AUSA that a crime's being committed and that they're committing crimes related to this case. It's not the only one. We could probably lump it into what's happening with Phil Latham, although he didn't tell me some details that I found out later where he has a little bit of unclean hands in certain areas. So still want to help him because what they did to him is wrong, but it's not exactly how he told me it was.
Well, I guarantee you, as Patrick knows, I will provide him instantaneously every piece of paper from day one in this project all the way to us speaking here today.
Yeah, and you have, I want to point this out, you have other information that could be brought to light inside of the Chapter 7, right?
Right.
You have a letter, this community planner, Cindy, that called Honesdale's actions negligent. The fact that they're still trying 13 years later and they spent $10 million to actually get this across the board could be another course of action for that you could have. And since it's in bankruptcy and since it's ongoing litigation, you could sue them more for conspiracy, right? Because they're actually trying to do what they stopped you from doing.
Well, here's the other piece in that negligent email from Cindy. I think the date of that is in 2013. If they would have stopped then, we might have had a chance.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Closing my sense to the Harrisburg folks. I will lay out once we hear from Scott from the state on the second invoice. And this is a city planner. Does she work for them?
No, retired. She retired.
Okay. She'd be a great witness for the AUSA, right?
Sure. Well, she came to our trial and she testified, so all her comments are on record.
All right. So look, there is a way out of this where you keep all your money. I would tell them nothing. And I should I'll get Stephanie on the hook, and I may try to help you guys on Monday. I make a couple calls. I'll make a couple calls from here because I think, is Pennsylvania yeah, we'll talk about this offline.
Okay.
I'll make a couple calls. I'll have you guys on the call. We'll call the trustee. We'll go through some documentation that we have to get for making sure that he is on notice. In other words, you have to say that, yes, Joe can help me in this case. Look,
Right.
I have lots of businesses, lots of them. I've been sued a few times too. So you can't have a business without being sued. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not possible. So somebody tells me I haven't been sued in 30 years, I'm like, oh yeah.
Well, then you're not doing business.
Yeah, you're not doing business. Walmart gets sued 1,000 times a day on the average. 1,000 times a day. Yeah.
Crazy.
All right. All right. You can buy body armor at my place. Somebody's asking where they can buy body armor.
I got level 5.
Well, listen, I feel a little differently about this. I was all about let's just expose it. Now that I'm sitting here talking to you, let's just get you your money back.
Well, I think you need to expose it too, Joe, and I'll tell you why. My partner, Steve, like I said earlier in the show, if Steve wasn't on,
yeah.
I thank you, Steve, and your wife.
Yeah, I heard you. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know. But, I mean, Steve came to me when we won this, all right, when we got the judgment. And he said, Mike, let's turn some of this money back into a fund to help the people in Wayne County get away from these people or expose them.
People in our same position that can't afford, because the legal system is really meant for wealthy people. If you can't afford to defend yourself, you're going to lose every time.
No question.
It's as simple as that. I mean, they bleed you to death until you give up and throw your hands up and lay down. And that's the way it is in Wayne County. I'm sure there's hundreds of people up there that have been screwed.
But and there's another reason when we talk Monday, I'll tell you why all this is going on. My opinion.
All right, listen. We have to separate the noise from the facts. In this case, I know Steve is like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. But I'm going to tell you something, Steve. I'm telling you right now, the federal court is not the middle district, whatever it is. It's not the same. Mm-hmm. And if you have to move it to a more competent jurisdiction and claim the fraud based upon a repetitive action, and you can use Phil Latham as an example, then that's what we do. You have to be willing. It's the last yard. You understand? You're at the 99. You're at point blank. Boom. You're at the 90. You went 99 yards down the field. You're at the 1 yard line, and now they're saying, we got to take you back to the 15-yard line. Here's 80 grand. Shut up and go away. And somebody's going to pocket the 4.3 million because it's going to be a fully collectible debt. So that money's going to go to someone. It's not like they're not going to collect it. They're going to collect that money. They're just trying to get you out of the way and take that money and use it however they want inside of this deal. Because the settlement, the judgment is the judgment. At least the 2.6. I don't know much about the 1.7 or what's going on with that, but I assume that will be reaffirmed as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll get to the bottom of it. This is going to be fun. Patrick, this is going to be fun. I love giving it to the man. Giving it to the man. No, you.
And let me thank Patrick. The man, he's the man. All right. The conversations we've had over the last 2 weeks, he's just a great person. God bless him.
You have no idea what Patrick's been through, right?
We kind of talked. Patrick and I have kind of talked.
And Steve, you don't know this about me, but 6 years, I've been fighting the election fraud for 6 years.
Right.
I carry a gun everywhere I go. Everywhere I go. I was looking down. I don't want to put it up here because I got Mr. McShitty, Eric Coomer and his little boys watching the video. These people have cost me millions, tens of millions. They've attacked my wife, my kids. I live in a house with bulletproof glass, thermal cameras. I've got AR-15 next to my bed. I've got a gun within 10 feet everywhere I go in my home. I have to check cameras before I actually go. before I leave the house. I mean, it has been a difficult 6 years, so I get it. And the courts here are worse than they are there. Imagine them being worse. They're worse.
No, I cannot.
And so it's a blatant abuse. And the news here, this guy named Kyle Clark and everything else, they cover up for the crimes that were committed by these people. So, you know, it's an uphill battle, but you have to fight. You can't stop fighting, and you can't let them take what's not theirs. And now that you're in the federal system, and it's a very simple process in order to reaffirm. I mean, you don't have, and they can't close it out without you having a hearing either. So they can't just say like, oh, nope, we closed it. Right? It's not how it works.
That's why they're trying to get us to sign a settlement agreement before it even goes. If the judge sees a settlement agreement, he's going to be like, oh, you're all good. Everyone agreed. I don't have to look at this anymore.
They're trying to steal $4.3 million in 13 years from you. That's what they're trying to do. So
I agree.
You're not signing anything. If I have to get on a plane, which I might, on Monday we'll figure out if I do, and I got to come there, then I will come there, you know, Gangnam style. I'll show up with James O'Keefe in tow, right?
That would actually be, you know what? To be honest with you, Joe, these people, and I don't like to speak bad about other people, but they deserve it. They're cockroaches.
They are cockroaches.
And the one thing that they're scared most of is what's happening right here, right now.
Yeah.
That the lights come on. Because once the light comes on, and like I said earlier, my background, which I've talked to Patrick about a little bit with my mother and stuff like that, I will go with Donald Trump, Pam Bondi, and Cash Patel. Pay me $1, whatever's legal. Give me nothing. I don't care. I will walk with a team that has the power, and I will point out where to dig their nose in.
Yeah, unfortunately, they already have their nose in that area, and you just talked about certain people. I think President Trump has an appetite for it. I'm not sure the rest do.
Yeah, but guess what? He's got a pen. Remember the pen? I got pen and paper.
Yeah. I know what the pen looks like. I also know what sabotage looks like. Right?
Amen to that.
All right, Steve, here's my commitment. I'm going to get you your money back. So that's my commitment, right? So
that would be lovely. That would be great, Joe. Really would be.
And I'm a super asshole. So
good. So am I sometimes. Mike can attest to that.
Me, I'm a sweetheart.
But look, I say this: I love the Lord, I love Jesus, but I'm not Jesus, right? And I have gone through fire. I remember they had this $29 million project and this $160 million or $140 million. I can't remember what it was. It's like a huge project over in Africa. And I show up and I look at all the stuff and I was like, this is stupid. Like, this project is stupid. You're like burning cash. And I said, in this $29 million project, we should be able to do for like $3 million. And they were like, yeah, Joe, you can't do it for $3 million. I was like, yeah, I can. So I did. Right? And then they said you couldn't get it funded. And I walked down to the NEMA office, which is National Environmental Management Agency in one of the African nations. And I was like, listen, I'm going to do this. And if you don't do this, I forget what group I was talking about, but I basically played chicken with them and threatened them with the equivalent of the Boko Haram. I was going to come to their village. And I got the project done for $3 million. And I remember that one of the guys that was a permanent secretary of the country said, Mr. Joe, how did you do this? And I was like, I don't know. I just got my ways. And I never told anyone about it, but we finished the project in literally like less than a year. And it came in at under $3 million. It was a $29 million job. But amazing. You can work the problem. You can work the problem. You can get to a solution. You just have to overcome the obstacles and act like they're not there. Like, run through them, right? And these people, they're evil. So evil people stick together and do what they did to Mike, right? You know what they do? You know why they do that? Because evil people are evil and they're greedy and And all you have to do is fight against it. And because they're weak and they stand together, they're going to roll over on each other as well when you go to talk to the AUSA. They're going to literally squeal like pigs because one of them's going to prison and they're going to decide that I'm not going to be the one to go to prison, right? But you got to press it too. You got to sit in the little chair out front when the AUSA says, I can't see you. And I was like, I'll wait. Well, and you'll wait the next day and the next day. And you'll sit in that freaking chair for 12 hours, 3 days in a row. And then you get pissed and say, I just saw him walk over and get a cheeseburger. He could take his lunch to talk to me, right? But you got to be willing to create that friction.
Well, I just said in the Pennsylvania judiciary, I turned in the judge, and they obviously gave it a whitewash. And I said, well, I said it back, and on the cover letter, I said, I'm going to keep sending this until you do your job.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to solve this problem. We are going to solve this problem.
Let's do it.
That's it. Joe, thank you. Hey. Patrick, thank you. God bless all of you.
All right. Here's what I'm committing to do. Monday we have a meeting. If all goes well on the Monday meeting, which I think it will, right? I'm going to have a lawyer involved in it by then. So I'll have a lawyer. And I tried to do this for Phil too, but Phil was so far down the rabbit hole. I still think they're going to do something for Phil. Phil's up against the clock too, but his clock is different than yours.
What's interesting is it's the exact same people, and I know, and Steve knows. We sat in the courtrooms together.
Well, then let's get Steve.
I think there's 5 or 6 other people I could pull immediately that have lost millions to these people.
Can you get a hold of them this weekend?
I can get a hold of one this weekend.
All right. So if you can get a hold of them this weekend, and we'll get a hold of Phil and them this weekend. We put together a little deal. I'll fly out. I'll set a meeting. I'll have Lynn set a meeting with the AUSA of Pennsylvania. We'll probably have to drive into Philly because I assume that's where it is. We'll make sure we have all our ducks.
You fly into Philly, I'll drive down, and I'll pick you up at the airport.
Okay, perfect. And we'll do that, and then we'll document it out pretty heavily. Go into the AUSA, make sure that we have a brief, right? So we're gonna have to digest all that information into Athena, which is our AI platform. We'll have to digest it into that system, spit out a brief, bluff, bottom line up front. This is what we have. We'll get some affidavits done by Phil, you, Steve, whoever this other person is. If you have other people that you can actually contact, we'll get them involved as well. And now we're cooking with gasoline. Now they have to look under the hood because you have multiple crimes committed. Then we'll take it from the AUSA. They're probably going to want a law enforcement agency involved. They'll probably walk you over. Maybe we walk over to the FBI, have a conversation with them, and now you literally getting the dismissal on the bankruptcy becomes easy. And by the way, if the people that are there are listening to what I'm saying right now and know that you're on the show, their butthole is puckered up so hard that they actually are trying to figure out how to get out of this. Okay.
From your mouth to God's ears.
No, I know for a fact. I mean, I've done this probably 30 or 40 times, Patrick. I've done this for other people, and every single time when I've gone and talked about a case like this and gotten involved, it's always resolved itself because of the pucker factor, right?
Right.
And the only thing you're going to settle for is your $4.3 million, period.
Right.
Right. Right?
Right.
All right.
Sounds good.
Phil's listening to you right now, so he's going to reach out to you. So, you guys talk to Phil?
Oh, he lives right down the street from me.
All right, so make sure you have the conversation with him about what we're doing. Go back and listen to it if you have to. Anything else? Are we good? Are we good?
Good.
See, God is
looking
great,
forward
man.
to the
I'm
next
telling
step.
you, God is great. We just put our heads together and came up with a pretty good solution, right?
Awesome.
All right, Monday it is. Lynn just sent me a text saying, Phil just called me. Phil just called me. So, Phil, you're in, bro. You're in like Flynn. Let's go. All right, Steve, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Mike, appreciate
thank you,
God
Joe.
bless you guys.
Thank you, Joe.
Appreciate it.
God bless you.
All right. Whew. Steve's not a believer yet. I'm going to make him a believer.
I am.
He's in the back.
I'm still here.
I know that after you go 13 years into something, it becomes very difficult to get excited about anything. But we just worked the problem and started looking under every bush, and I think it's going to be really good. So I'm committed to help both of them, and this is kind of why I'm in this fight. And I think some of you have made the comment to that. I like helping people, and frankly, I hate shitty people. There's a lot of them, isn't there? There sure is a lot of them. And whoever else is out in Pennsylvania, you better look me up, Joe at untamednation.com. Send me something when I'm out there, but I'll probably be out there end of next week. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, guys. We're going to do a quick commercial break. I feel really good about that. I feel good about this because as I'm sitting here, one of my friends that's a lawyer is like, Joe's right, Joe's right. He's sending me text messages. Joe's right, Joe's right. Reaffirm it, reaffirm it, reaffirm it, right? Go have a talk with the bank. And if the bank has any conversation, you tell them right off the bat, you're going to the DOJ. You're actually going to talk to the FBI. You have a pretty good case and you got other people be involved. They're going to pucker up. They're going to pucker up. We're going to go to a commercial break. When we come back, oh man, we have so much other stuff to talk to you about. And I was really black-pilled, and I'm still black-pilled, but now I'm black-pilled with a little bit of purpose, maybe help these guys get something back that they deserve as well. So, yeah, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Joe, Supreme Leader of DCF Guns. What is DCF Guns, you ask? We're the best damn gun store and range in the universe. Do we have guns? We have all the f***ing guns. We got small guns. We got big guns. We even have beastly guns. We offer all types of training, and we have 5 ranges across our 3 locations. I'm a good shot. And of course, we have all types of ammo. We even have flamethrowers. Woo! We offer incredible membership opportunities, and members save even more on guns, ammo, and accessories. Come join the DCF family today, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter. It's hot.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle. So Pam Bondi was on Fox News recently about Brennan. And remember, we haven't had a conversation about Comey in a while. But remember, Comey was charged and they were dismissed, and nobody at the Epstein file has been arrested, and the election systems are still fraudulent, and we haven't gotten to the bottom of that, and we've gone and done the dog and pony show and just run the clock. And so I have no confidence in the weakest part of the DOJ. I have no confidence in it. Now, do I think there's good people in the DOJ? Yeah. Will they help some people? Yeah, they will. But it's become a political apparatus. It's not functioning the way it should. If it did, we would have a lot of people in cuffs. Eric Coomer would be in cuffs. David Beller would be in cuffs. Charlie Kane would be in cuffs. There'd be a lot of people in cuffs right now. Anyone associated with the election systems in the state of Colorado or the state of any state would be in cuffs. We would have lots of people. And you know what? You could say, oh, you can't, you have to have a tight case. How much time? Look, if you can see it from the outside so clearly, it's literally they've just ripped off the hood, then so can a jury and so can judges. But if you want to make it political jockeying and you have the haves and the have-nots and we just make sure we do all this stuff to make sure that nobody actually goes to prison for it, then this is what you do. But here's Pam Bondi. She wants to tell us, I mean, nobody is above. Go ahead, but listen to her.
Is it true that John Brennan is under investigation from the Department of Justice? Sources are telling us that that the transcript from the House interview with Brennan have been requested from the Department of Justice.
So, Lawrence, I can't talk about whether we do or do not have a pending case nor a pending grand jury. What I can say is public is that we have received transcripts from the House. Those had to be declassified, and we are awaiting transcripts from the United States Senate. The last thing I'll say on that is no one in this country is above the law.
Right.
Well, we've been told that.
We've been told that before is what she's going to say. Yeah, the DOJ does nothing. So they put this post up, and I had to write this, and I was like, except for the people who steal elections and commit treason and betrayal against the American people, the DOJ is a joke. It's a joke. See, we don't actually care about your little private fights that you have inside the government. We don't care. What we care about is that we can restore order in our country very quickly and in our state very quickly if we have control of the reins and we have a seat at the table. When the American people are stakeholders, and I'm going to say something that's going to be very unpopular, even if they're Democrat stakeholders, even if it's a Democrat, a reasonable Democrat that was put in there where people are like, you know, that's my guy. I want just so I can say he has a D instead of an R next to him. When you have a system that is designed to protect the people, you don't get the craziness and the degradation you have going on in this country. And the reason why you have degradation happening in this country related to education, even in the areas that are the Republican, the conservative areas. You say, well, it's a conservative area. It doesn't matter because the Department of Education is run by bureaucrats that are not elected that basically push down all of this perversion to our communities. And it's forced into the education environment on the Democrat side and the Republican side. So this rot that you have is an attack on the very sovereignty of our country. And it's very easy to see. But it's also easy to see that we don't have a functioning judiciary. We don't have a functioning legislative part of our government, because if you did, the 82% of the people that said they wanted the SAVE Act passed would have been enough to say, okay, let's pass it. And the fact that our government is shut down and President Trump's like, I'm not signing anything until you get the SAVE Act passed. He's like, I don't care. Well, we'll go another year. But then you have Republicans like Mike Johnson and others that are getting together and threatening President Trump to say, if you endorse this person over this rhino over here, we're going to make sure you get indicted and you have an impeachment, and we're going to vote for it. That's how disgusting our system has become, and very obvious. Again, if you can pull off the hood and you can see what's happening, and yet they do nothing, then you know that the system is not functioning properly, and it is not designed to protect the American people. That's the dysfunction. That's how far down the slippery slope we've gotten. And that's why I'm so upset over it. And here, I want you to talk about this. I want you to check this out. This is a woman that has never voted in a presidential election other than for Donald Trump in 2020. Watch this.
Because the first election I voted in was Trump's. I've never voted in a midterm. I've never voted.
What?
I have never voted in a midterm election. Ever.
All right.
Say that I've never voted in a primary. Ever.
Tell us that again.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so what we see here is someone voted in your name for a midterm primary, and then we've got 1, 2, 3 presidential elections. You're saying you did not vote in.
I can tell you, and I'm a bad. I can tell you, I'm a bad patriot. The first time I got involved in politics was President Trump. That's my first presidential election. I have never voted in a midterm. I have never voted in another presidential election. This is all a lie. I am so upset.
So we're looking at 2 presidential votes.
Give me the model. Pull up the model, please. The model I built in December of 2020. Can you guys grab that? I want to show you something. Remember what happened on, now they've made it, the store procedures are a little bit different now in Dominion and in Clear Ballot. So how they actually get to the conclusion of the election system is even different than it was in 2020. So they've gotten smarter so that things don't look so obvious. But let me just tell you this. So this model right here aligns with what's called the Edison zero. And and again, I put this model up because it was in December of 2020. We didn't have a lot of information. I had to go back and read and go through things very quickly and compress all the different election systems that I had in thing and turn it and compress it, and then I could figure out where the vulnerabilities are, and then I could figure out based on actions and what we saw happen on November 3rd as to what really happened, okay? If you look on the far left side, it says verified voter, right? See where it says verified voter on the outside? And then you have the internet connection on the far left. You go up and you go once the system goes down, and they're like, okay, remember they closed all they basically shut down everything and the systems all went down. And that happened that we know of, happened in 11 states, 12 states. Yeah, so Michigan, Minnesota, Colorado, Nevada, Arizona, Pennsylvania. I want to go through all of them. Okay, anyway, a lot of them. Georgia. So once you know these things, and you have the ability to have your verified voters, and you have these mail-in ballots. Now, mail-in ballots, you could just stack them up. You just stack up the mail-in ballots, and once you separate the envelopes from the ballots, you could just meld in or slide them in there. But because of the ADA requirements inside the system that create ballots out of thin air and make them look like they've been filled in by a human hand, we saw this happen down in Georgia. And in the audit that came later with Voter GA, you can put in fake ballots. You could put in phantom ballots. So phantom ballots are already in the system. They're already in the tabulation system. The EMS system has injected that in there. Now, it has to go through this process where you have to make it a good count. But if it's not made a good count, it has to go to adjudication or a good count. So it goes to adjudication. We saw high adjudication rates, much more than what the state standard was under HAVA. So you should have, it should be really low. It's not, okay? So once you have that, and you go to adjudication, then it comes back and it can be tabulated once you understand what the voter intent is. Like, what is the voter intent? And then it goes to, okay, it's a good count. But once you have suspended ballots, you can suspend ballots inside the system. So you could have an entire database of 70,000, 80,000, it doesn't matter how many, it's a lot, right? Once you have that information and you know who voted, it goes out and goes to the outside voter registration system. Once you know who voted, you know what? You know who didn't vote. So then you take that information of the people that didn't vote and you put it back in the system, and you can assign those to these ballots. You can actually assign them to the ballots, and then the ballot goes to good count. Boom, you have a registered voter. So you have this woman that says, I haven't voted, but it said she did. And remember, we saw this happen in Georgia. And in Georgia, go ahead and take this down. In Georgia, we saw this happen very specifically. They had some number of dead voters. Now, this was a predominant problem across the board, across multiple states. But what was a bigger problem is that if you look at what happened in the ballots in Michigan, specifically Detroit area, it was an unauditable situation because you could not audit the situation because they had like 2x, or I don't remember the exact number, but it was 140, 150, 200% of the number of people that they had. I mean, not voting people, number of people that they had voted in the election. And the way that they did it is they just assigned willy-nilly, just put the ballots down. The ballots are just there. And there was no verification process that happened that would allow you to get to the bottom of whether or not they were fraudulent or fake ballots. In every single jurisdiction, every single one of them, they changed the rules. In Arizona, when you had the audit, they wanted to go in, inspected all the ballots. They found 30 or more precincts in one box, which is impossible. And they multiple boxes. All the boxes were open except for the ones that were supposed to be used for the audit. Those were actually sealed up. The audit meaning the risk-limited audit where you walk through and make sure that the counts are accurate. At the very end, even though you had these large reports, you had Doug, whatever his name is, Doug, that said that he's the one that sent me the report, by the way. He's the one that said, Joe, this is a fraudulent election. It's fraudulent. And you can go back and look at the video. He said that, and then he recanted it because he was threatened by the attorney for the Senate, the Arizona Senate, who said that he got final say on what the report was allowed to be in the report. True story. But the reason why I say this is because it is very easy. This ties back again to the Raul deal of the CIA being involved with, and the FBI being involved with Fox IT, which is a known entity that Raul worked for. And he said they're taking these identities and stealing these people's information and putting them in different states. And then you can start looking at what Eric does with the 25 states who are on the Eric system, and the fact that you could be registered in 4 or 5 or 6 different states. They could figure out where you voted, where you didn't vote, and they could just create it out of thin air, which they've been doing for years. And so when I first came out with the assessment on the elections, and look, I'm much smarter than 99% of the people out there that understand elections. I am. I'm just going to tell you right now. No, you could say, Joe, you have a lot of hubris. I will tell you right now, I understand it better than most. Than 99%. I understand how they did it because you can see it in broad daylight. Now, the function of it, that's why we have people like Mark Cook, and you have people that have been able to dig into the pieces of it, but understand the calculations of what they did inside the system to steal elections. This is why I said, I bet you 30% or more of the votes cast in U.S. elections are fraudulent. 30%. And we don't know how many people are in the United States. You don't have any idea. You could sit here and you could tell me that there's 6 million people in Colorado. And I would tell you, I think you're probably I think you're probably heavy by 20%. I don't know what the number is, but I would say 20%. Because you have so much fluff and fraud that exists inside of our system. They say 320 million, I bet you it's 250. You say, well, Joe, how do you know we had the census? Yeah, but you have a census that is based off a system that is the larger collective. So we have no idea how many people are in the country. We don't. We don't have a good number. And you could say, well, the statisticians. No, absolutely not. Because if I, Joe, can figure out the margins on fake and fraudulent ballots, then you don't think they're smart enough to figure out, they say 320 million people, build a budget based on that, then you have plenty of fluff to throw around inside the budgets. And we sit here, and we can solve this problem quickly, but we don't. And the country is on the brink of collapse. I truly believe that. Because the people are at the point now where we're just done. And they're dictating to us what done means. I want you to see this. This is Pramila Jalapal calls for taxpayer-funded reparations for illegals. Go ahead, play it.
Then we also need offensive actions around prosecutions. We need real accountability because at the end of the day, the people that have been inflicting this harm need to be prosecuted. They need to be brought before us, and they need to be held account for the trauma that they have created, and we are going to have some form of reparation.
Off. That's it. That's all I got to say. I'm done with people like her enslaving the American people. Un-American Americans. People that want to treat us like we're a paycheck. And some of you know what that means. That's the reality. That's what we face right now. All right. I'm getting out of here early. It's kind of early. Oh, it's not early. I'm late. All right. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio. You tune in more. Yes, I know that I've cussed today. I apologize. They're going to cut out all the cussing on the reruns. But I think we're in that place. Let's see what kind of comments we got. Seems like an awful lot of people are in fact above the law. Hey, what did you think of my comment to Kyle Clark? Pretty good, huh? It's Just skip the ads. That was a great segment watching Joe work the problem. I love working the problem. It's great working the problem. The fruit of the tree tells you what kind of tree it's in. It's designed to steal. Exactly right. We need to build a wall around DC. That's pretty good. Yeah, she can kiss my lily white ass. That's a little bit too much information. I mean, lily white's a little bit. I mean, that's kind of a stretch. You can't say it's lily white. You can say it's white. She's not an American, and she makes the laws. She makes the laws. These people, they've gotten to the point where it's out of hand, and yeah, we know it's out of hand. All right, so let's do this. Let's do this. I am struggling right now. I'm struggling because I just feel like I'm carrying this huge weight. And so I need to take a break. I got a little one, so I'm going to take a break for the weekend. I've stayed off of social medias for the most part. I got to do this thing on Kyle Clark because he's going to do something tonight on me. But Dancer says, I hate Florida had a bill that doesn't allow hand recount of votes from what I heard or remember. Yeah, it's crazy because the people are slaves. I mean, once you realize you're a slave and you got nothing else to fight for, then then death is just the way out. But fighting for it before you die, it becomes the norm. And look, you can go back and check my math on the history going back 2,000, 4,000 years ago. And it is very true that the downfall of every society was based on misrepresentation or lack of representation inside of the government structure. Doesn't matter if you call it capitalistic or otherwise. And right now, we're in the greatest threat of that in the history of humanity. Yeah. I felt that way last night. Take deep breath. Yeah. I got a lot of betrayal in my life right now, so we just got to figure out how to get through it. Okay, let's pray it out. Susan Rice, good to see you. Susan, I always like saying hi to Susan Rice because Susan Rice makes me like Susan Rice's. Because the Susan Rice in the United States, the bad Susan Rice, she's really bad. All right, let's pray it out. Father God, thank you for the time that we had today with Mike and Steve. Thanks for the working the problem. Thanks for walking through man, just thank for the knowledge that you give me. And for the ability to work problems quickly with really smart people. Help us, Father, that we can continue to press forward into the issues and may do right by the people in our community. Help us, Father, that we may be respectful. And I do want to apologize for cursing a lot. It's been a rough go. Father, I ask you I'm asking you to heal David. He's he just had his PET scan, as you know, and yeah, it's not good. Father, I don't know what the answer is to many of the problems that we face other than to the brute force, work the problem by walking through the obstacles. So if that's what we're supposed to do, Father, then I'll continue to do that. But otherwise, I'd really like it if you could just give us a battle path. And I know things happen in your time, but it'd be nice if we could get to the resolution quicker. Help us, Father, to love on each other. Set aside petty differences and really do what's right by the people. And the poorest among us, Father, is where I know that you look out for them, but just help us to be cognizant and to think about those that are most in need as we try to search out solutions. I ask these things humbly in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Sorry, cough in your ear. I would have tried to do it. The answer says illegals get reparations, EBT, free houses, apartments, free everything. I agree with you. Yeah, God bless you, Susan. All right, you guys have a great day. Listen, you are the ambassadors of truth. You get to decide who gets to hear it because I hear that you guys put stuff up there, and frankly, it's been really good to see all the shares that are happening. And I do know that they don't want to be, I'm not even anti-Israel, and they don't want to have me talk. They're like, no, you can't talk about the synagogue of Satan. You can't talk about the evil people. And you can't separate them. You should be talking about them in collective nature and taking that part out, even though they hang out together and they do really bad things collectively together. It's crazy. Anyway, and for my brothers and sisters over in Israel, man, we should pray for you too. So let's, Father, just give them relief and the courage to fight against the corruption that they face over there in their leadership. In Jesus' name. All right, we'll see you guys later. Yeah, Jeff Bear, or Dave Bear, yeah. B-A-E-R. Joe says ambassadors of truth, but I heard bastards of truth. That might be true too. All right, God bless you. I'll see you soon.
Rising from the fight for the forgotten and the free, exposing rigged machines, Kuma's lies, dominions deceit, pays a grand each day, shielding truth from corrupt halls, but he won't back down, standing tall through it all. Tina Peters break the chains that bind her tight, hand count votes and one day bring the fraud to light. No more mailing scams, no machines to steal the night, restore the people's voice, make Colorado right. Governor Oltmann, lead us bold and true, badass for the have-nots, fighting through and through. Abolish property tax, cut the tolls away, shrink the bloated state, let the people have their say. It's our rally call, truth and freedom rise and watch the tyrants fall. Untamed Colorado, strong and proud, we'll be one man for the people, set our great state free. Help the single moms, bring back trade school strong, opportunity for youth, where the brave belong. Audit every NGO, ban the wolves that roam, reclaim our stolen land, bring the power home. Eric Kuma's fraud, dominions, rig design, expose the stolen votes, cross the dangerous line. No more victimhood, no chains on you and me. He's running for governor for real liberty. Smash the fraud machine, pardon heroes jailed for the have-nots. Rising truth will never fail. One warrior defies the corrupt elite. Colorado reborn, strong on our feet. Governor Oltmann, lead us bold and true, badass for the have-nots, fighting through and through. Abolish property tax, cut the tolls away, shrink the bloated state, let the people have the say. Governor Oltmann, it's our rally call, truth and freedom rise and watch the tyrants fall. Untamed Colorado, strong and proud, we'll be one man for the people, set our great state free. Governor Oltmann, lead us bold and true. Governor Oltmann, freedom forever, Colorado rise. Governor Oltmann, Governor Oltmann, Governor Oltmann, Governor Oltmann, Governor Oltmann, Governor Rise up untamed, in the heart of the fight where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation. the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown, untamed nation. It's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real, no more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown, tame nation. It's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah.